Welcome to the Piece of Energy podcast. I'm Kathy, and I'll be joined by my sister Dawn, my daughter Katie, and oftentimes some other guests for different topics about crystals, energy healing, spiritual growth, and many other ways to help bring out the best in you. Thanks for listening and enjoy our various podcasts. Hello, welcome to the Piece of Energy podcast. I'm Kathy, and here's my sister
Dawn.
So we're here to tell you today about Red Jasper. Red Jasper is one of the greatest stone gifts that we have from Mother Earth. So today we'd like to introduce you to a very powerful crystal that is a real workhorse in the areas of grounding and balance.
But so much more too than grounding and balance.
That's right. This stone is always on your side. There's a lot more to it.
First, let's explain some of the information about its formation and the makeup. This will make it apparent of how to identify it and understand how it works. The good old scientific reasoning.
Red Jasper is a chalcedony rock. It's a microcrystalline and a cryptocrystalline quartz. This type of quartz is formed not as a single crystal, but rather as a solid material loaded with fine microcrystals. Picture this, an ordinary clay pot. It's not a very beautiful piece of rock. But when you look at it under the sunlight, when you look at it very closely, that gives you the look of being grainy. But looking closely at the grains, you may notice a little sparkle in those grains. This type of stone is semi-transparent to opaque, and it fits into the lattice category of hexagonal.
Hexagonal.
Excuse me.
Tomato.
Hexagonal, which means it fits into the quartz family. We also like to identify the Mohs hardness.
How do you spell that?
Mohs?
Yeah. M-O-E?
M-O-H-S. Mohs is a way to identify hardness of anything based on a scale that has been established by a person named Mohs.
Oh, thank you.
So, we like to identify the Mohs hardness so you can compare crystals that are harder or softer on the surface. And this is what we use when you're describing a crystal. And this one is from 6.5 to 7 on the hardness scale.
Did you know the diamond is a 10 and it's the hardest and the most?
No, that's really good information.
I just read that somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I thought, what is the max,
Yeah.
The diamond is the hardest on the Mohs scale. Yeah.
That's really interesting because that tells you that this stone is actually very pretty hard.
Right.
To be a number 7.
Yeah.
And that it's because of that lattice hexagonal composition.
Mm-hmm.
That it includes quartz.
Yeah. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So when these little pieces of quartz are in the middle of this thing that looks like a clay pot, it's kind of like putting rebar into a cement wall when you're building it. It gives it strength and keeps it strong.
That is a really good example. Rebar. Now I can picture the strength of a crystal because it has that wire in there.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Nice.
You should know that it has a very strong, slow, and steady vibration. And that's another way that we describe a crystal when we're trying to figure out what it should be used for, what part of the body it can be used for, what part of the environment is helped by it. It's about the vibration.
So it won't be like a quick fix, like a really fast vibration. So if it's long and strong and steady, it'll be good over time.
That's right. So jasper is formed in several different colors. However, the red jasper that we're focusing on today gets its rich, dark, orangey red color from being formed in areas where iron is present in the ground. Often, there are layers of other colors in the pieces of this orangey rock. And that shows that over time,
A very long time.
sometimes,
We're talking millions of years.
yeah, we're talking millions of years to form rocks. And these sometimes something in the environment has changed to stack up different kinds of materials to make inclusions and variegations in the rock that you might be holding in your hand.
Like, you mean bugs and stuff like that?
Yeah, like bugs, insects, animals, vegetation, maybe other rocks fell on top and then more jasper fell on top of that. It's something that I'd like you to imagine is this is still happening now. And the rock will look different in millions of years again. So imagine you're in the middle of Grand Canyon and there's jasper on the floor of the Grand Canyon. And then there's a forest fire comes through. And the trees that are burned and the vegetation and even and anything that is destroyed in the forest fire collapses onto the bed of the red jasper floor in Grand Canyon. And then maybe a wall collapses and it's covered with rocks and sand and dirt and all kinds of stuff again. Over the years, this gets crushed. It gets heavier and deeper.
That's a lot of compression.
Yes, it is. And over these years, the earth may have an earthquake, it may have a volcano, it may have hot, it might be out in the desert where it gets a lot of heat, it might have water running over it, what seeps into the cracks, and all these things bake and press this material over the years.
We can make oil.
This is how I wanted to describe that. You may see black line in your red jasper because of some kind of organic material that was pressed into that rock as it was forming.
And it was probably a lot bigger than that little black line, right? It could have been a whole tree.
Yes.
To make that little tiny line.
Right. So,
well, sometimes there's white in there too. So
that's right. It could be another layer of quartz or something like that. So
that's exciting. When you look at your rock now or your crystal and you think, how did this get made? It's not just like, oh, isn't that pretty? It has a history.
Right.
It's crazy.
And then when you're also looking at different pieces of red jasper and you're comparing them, it's amazing to think that this rock structure can be found anywhere in the world. We often find it in the western United States, Colorado, around that area. But it's also available in Madagascar and a lot of other countries. So you can see different variations and colors and inclusions based on where it's found in our geography of the world.
That's really amazing. When you think about them having trees too that could end up in the jasper, but they might have a different kind of mineral, calcium maybe, in their jasper. That's why it always looks so different. When we go to books and we try to look this stuff up, we don't always find the same looking kind of thing. So there's a lot of variations. That's pretty cool.
That's why I think sometimes I look at these stones that some people might call ugly. Yeah. And I think each one is a masterpiece.
You're right. Yeah, it's just, because you tend to go towards the pretty ones, the purple ones or whatever. But when you take a good look at one of these, it wasn't my first go-to rock because I thought it looked like a clay pot. On the other hand, now I look at it and I see those little tiny cracks and lines of color in there, and I'm thinking, what could that have been? It's just amazing how much heat and pressure that thing had to be under to make that come out like that.
So while we're talking about the color, this deep red color indicates a deep connection with the earth element. Many people don't choose this crystal first when beginning to build their collections because they think it's not the most beautiful, just as Dawn indicated too, until she learned more about it. It's solid, and you might not notice its beauty until it's highly polished.
They are beautiful when they're polished. They're magical.
Right. But I think of it as my favorite color of lipstick, and I've come to appreciate its essence and beauty.
I never heard it described that way before.
All right. Let's get to the powerful attributes of this crystal.
Finally! Gee whiz.
Okay, first let's tell them about the physical properties.
When it works with the body, we like to think how it relates to this energy centers of our body, the chakras.
Yes.
And because of the strong, low vibrations that work slowly and gradually, the crystal resonates with the lower 3 chakras, especially with the sacral and root chakras.
In the world of crystal healing, red jasper is used by crystal healers to regulate metabolic energy, to provide vitality and strength. It boosts physical stamina and supports overall health and function of the circulatory system. It is said to build muscle tissue, so people who exercise regularly and lift weights might want to consider wearing one when they work out. And, this discovery didn't just happen this year. During medieval times, knights and horses were suited with armor and swords that encrusted the red jasper in it to give them courage and strength and stamina when they were sent into battle.
In some civilizations, kings and queens often wore crowns that were encrusted with pieces of jasper that were called rubies back then. But they knew that they made them proud and brave and strong. The king and queen of England have lots of gems and jewels in their crowns.
Right, so heavy that they can hardly wear them on their heads.
Yep. Other physical traits are about stimulating the digestive and sexual organs. It can strengthen the blood cells and help to oxygenate the blood. And jasper can re-energize the body, and it's able to provide support during illnesses. It is an important part of being able to detoxify in many ways for your physical body and for your environment. And of that nature, it has the ability to absorb negative energy away from you, which will create a better energy flow for you.
So a lot of people use this for electromagnetic fields, if they're sitting in those areas, and to take away any of that electromagnetic frequency.
Energy. Right, so you should have jasper sitting by your TV and your computer and your phone.
Okay, let's switch to mental benefits of including red jasper in your collection. It seems to promote quick thinking. It makes people feel more alert, and it is said to let your imagination thrive. It helps people to make good decisions with good value and honesty.
Well, I can think a couple places we need that.
I think another example is like when people have good work ethics, or they work in an area where there's people around them, and they can keep red jasper on their desk or in meeting rooms or in a plant that's sitting in the corner to promote the good work ethics.
That's true. Emotionally, here's where the balance comes in. Right. This crystal has a stabilizing effect on the energy of the body, and it can ease emotional stress, encourage independence, and the ability to speak up when needed. Whoa, I need that because I shut up too often. I swallow my thought. No, I'm going to have jasper with me every time I want to confront somebody.
Right, and then you'll say what needs to be said.
Right.
Well, it keeps you centered.
Right. There are even ways you can use these stones to help with friendships and relationships, and using them in your home or office, even keeping them in a potted plant, not to mention how beautiful that looks, and the plant will probably be happy.
It's so important spiritually that red jasper is helpful to use in aligning your chakras and grounding your energy. Again, this comes through the lower chakras. Think of it as grounding you to the earth through the sacral and root chakras. Some people keep a piece in their pillowcase or next to their bed to enhance their ability to dream and then to recall the dreams and possibly understand them.
The balance and grounding together are so important because they allow you to relax and be calm. Then you have the ability to focus on your goals and achieve them. That is why this crystal is often called Supreme Nurturer.
Well, there's a lot of information here, but take the time to consider it and absorb it and think about how you could use this gift from Mother Earth.
Well, we just want to take a moment here to consider what we expressed to you is about healing and a collection of the best practices and experiences of many people. Please consult your physician or medical professionals to address your own issues or deciding to use these healing methods. And perhaps you could use these in addition to your medical person's advice.
So, what do you do next with all this information? Well, we highly recommend that you get yourself at least 2 pieces of red jasper, one raw and one polished.
You know, there's a real beauty in the raw crystals because it's really right out of the earth. And then when somebody goes and polishes them, you find something else inside. And it's just really nice to have both to compare, and both will be powerful.
Okay, so cleanse those pieces of rock that you get and charge them. So by that I mean wash the stones and clean them, and then place them in the moonlight or under a bright sunshine in order to give a fresh start and lots of energy to your stone. Now, you'll find that there are many ways to cleanse, many ways to get started with re-energizing your crystals. Read about them, choose the ones you like the best, but I suggest you repeat that process every so often after you've used your stones with strong intent. So then, after you have your stone cleansed and charged, get to know your crystal. Spend some time studying it and learning things about it. Experiment with the placement of your uses for it and be aware of any impact you might have.
Here, try these things. When getting to know your own crystal, hold it in your hands and learn the feeling of being able to identify it without using your eyes.
Then, take a small flashlight with a bright light and examine it.
No. You're going to take a flashlight and look at your crystal?
Yes, I am. Look at the surfaces. Find those little crystal-y sparkles that I was talking about. Let the light shine through it from the bottom to the top, and you may see through some of those white stripes. You'll learn a lot. And I'm not talking about just this crystal, but always. Make it your own. In your mind, decide what you would like to do with it when it nurtures you. Give it an intention. Keep it with you in important times or carry it routinely. You decide. Enjoy your partnership with your crystals and be aware intently at some of the results you will experience and appreciate them.
You might even want to write that down. Keep a little log because it's really interesting from time to time.
Right, and you may find many different pieces of red jasper in your collection, and they may all have different characteristics.
That's true.
If you want to learn more about red jasper, visit our video. We'll put the link in our description where we talked a lot about red jasper and we showed you some of the really nice pieces in our collection, and then we show you the differences between the polished and the raw, and just a nice way to look at them if you haven't seen them before.
It does give you quite a variety.
Yeah, we have some good pieces in our collection. And then we also have an Etsy page, and we'll put the link there, where you can find kits which teach kids and adults and guide them through more research of their own on the red jasper and many of our other crystals. So we'll give you those links. You might like them.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We invite you to comment and participate with us in developing our new podcast. We would love to hear your feedback.